When Dario Amodei talks about AI progress, he does not sound like someone making a loose prediction. He sounds like someone who thinks the curve is real. His conviction in scaling laws is not just a research opinion. It is one of the central bets behind Anthropic's timelines, safety posture, and policy arguments. At the simplest level, scaling laws say model performance tends to improve in a fairly regular way as you increase model size, training data, and compute. The point is not that every benchmark rises forever in a straight line. The point is that there are power law-style regularities strong enough to make progress partially forecastable, instead of purely mysterious. Dario's trust comes from two layers. First, he co-authored one of the foundational papers that formalized these scaling relationships in language models. Second, the broader frontier lab experience since then has often reinforced the practical lesson. If the inputs scale cleanly enough, capability gains keep showing up often enough to organize strategy around them. This conviction matters because it changes behavior. If you think scaling laws are strong and durable, then larger training runs are not reckless extravagance. They are rational investments. Safety work has to move earlier. Export controls matter more because compute becomes a strategic bottleneck. The safety side follows naturally. If dangerous or transformative capabilities also emerge along somewhat predictable scaling curves, then you do not wait for the surprise at the end. You build capability thresholds, safeguard ladders, and pre-committed policy responses in advance. That is the intellectual logic behind Anthropic's responsible scaling posture. But conviction is not the same thing as certainty. Scaling laws are strongest when you stay close to the regimes they actually measured. The closer you move from loss curves to economic transformation, scientific autonomy, or AGI timelines, the more extrapolation enters the picture. The danger is that a real empirical regularity can turn into excessive confidence about second-order consequences it does not fully prove. This is also why Dario's timelines often sound aggressive to outsiders. If you believe capability gains keep compounding when compute and training quality keep rising, then long waiting periods start to look less plausible than continued step changes. In that frame, planning for very powerful systems soon is not wild optimism. It is what falls out of taking the curve seriously enough. Once scaling laws become a serious planning assumption, the whole topic stops being only about product roadmaps. It becomes a question of who controls compute, who can train frontier systems, and who gets to shape the safety rules around them. That is why Dario's conviction leaks outward into export controls, alliances, and state capacity. The most important thing to watch now is whether scaling keeps delivering broad capability gains at the pace Dario's worldview expects. Right behind that are compute bottlenecks, export controls, and the harder question of where clean empirical curves stop and wider social forecasts begin. The bottom line is that Dario Amodei does not just admire scaling laws as a past research result. He treats them as one of the strongest organizing facts in AI. That conviction helps explain Anthropic's urgency, its safety framework, and its policy posture. The unresolved question is not whether the bet matters. It is how far the curves keep holding as the stakes rise.